Welcome to Tokyo, Japan. That's where you'll find Godzilla, fashion, food, culture, and beautiful gardens. In this course, I'm going to show you how to start mastering watercolors. You're going to learn 8 techniques you can continue to build on and complete a beautiful inspired watercolor painting. Now in this sneak peek coming up, you're going to learn how to layer watercolors, the wet on wet technique, the wet on dry technique, how to soften edges and create reflection. Now let's get to it. All right, guys, welcome back. We are going to now start layering our colors and really bringing more saturation and defining some areas of our piece. Okay, I'm still using my number 6 round, and I'm going to go back and sort of define the bridge red and the little temple. So I'm using my red color. A little more saturation, and I'm building, and at this point it's dry, so I can just go over it, and I can even clean up some edges if I want. Just like that. Use a tip, almost like a drawing tool. I wanted to have more saturation of color, and I want to definitely define some areas. So I'm just sort of building it at this point. And remember, this is a loose technique. I'm being very loose about it. Just like that. I'm gonna go over to the bridge now. Need a little more color. And I'm just sort of pulling the brush on the paper. Just like that. See, there's a higher saturation of color. We're just building up our colors right now by layering. And I'm just being loose with it. The more color, the less water I use. The less water I use, the more color, higher saturation and pigment. Just like that. And I want it to be loose. So there are going to be some areas that show where it's lighter, and some areas where it's darker or it looks unfinished. That's what you want. You want to purposely do that, just to bring some interest. And I'm just sort of building up that color. See, there's some transition there. If you look, there's some transition. There's lighter ones, there's dark values. And I'm doing that on purpose, because I want to build interest, contrast to my piece. So I'm going to go back, use some more color on my temple. Not using water, I'm just going in with what I have and really making that red color pop. And as you can see, I'm being really loose about it. I want to leave some of the light colors there.
just like that. There we go. Now I want to go back and define some of the blossoms. So let's see, pick up my pink color, go a little more paint, go more on the center because we're sort of adding a little more interest. I need a little bit of water. I'm just sort of doing round marks in the center. See that? More saturation of color. Maybe something here, a little different. And just play around with it and have fun. This is what's going to draw interest, and I'm going right over those, the trees. Use more color. And just sort of look, moving the brush. Letting it do its thing, move around in there. And if you want to bring more light, just make sure you use more water, less pigment, and you can move around. Now I'm looking at my composition and I want just a little bit more saturation of color, a darker value right here. Bring the eye more to the center. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick up some of that blue that we used. Make sure your brush is clean before you go on to the next color. And I'm going to pick up actually more saturation of that color. And just sort of do a little edge work right here. And I'm gonna show you a trick in a second, how we're gonna feather out that color and make it lighter as it comes down by using the same color. So there's more control when you're doing wet on dry. There we go. So now I'm gonna clean my brush, dip it in just a touch of water, come down to the edge and sort of feather out that color. Blend it out. Just soften the edges like we did in our practice. You're just pulling the color down, making it lighter as it comes down and just sort of feathering it out. Take your time, guys. You're supposed to be having fun. Just like that. And maybe add a little bit more blue down here, more of a design. Let's see. Yeah, I like that. More movement. And just a touch of sky, right? So for that, I'm going to really use water around here. Just a little bit. Wet on wet. Come back with my clean brush. Use some of that blue color. And just sort of do a little light tint of sky in some places. To draw the eye. There we go, just like that. Remember, we want it to be loose, and I don't want to cover all the white. I definitely want some of that white to show. Just like that. Atmospheric effect. All right. Okay, now coming up next, we're going to use our markers to define the areas, really shape things up and clean up the edges and things like that, and really make our piece pop. That's coming up next.
Wasn't that fun? You learned how to define areas. You learned techniques such as wet on wet, wet on dry, creating soft edges, and creating reflection. Now I want you to go back and practice these techniques until you master them. Now, how does this all relate to you becoming a better artist? Well, I've incorporated drawing and painting together to sort of ease you in, right? This is going to change the way that you see things and your perspective on things, okay? Now, I know that students work better together in a group. So once you enroll, you get immediate access to the collective, where we have a large group of like-minded artists, where we encourage, we get critiques, we share, and we inspire one another. In addition to this collective, I do a live coaching session where I answer questions, I share techniques, and I help you on your art journey. I'm in the group daily answering questions, and all of this is a benefit for you to grow as an artist. Wanderlust Artist Beginners Edition is a compilation of 5 mediums, 5 different locations. So if you're ready to drastically improve your painting skills today, this is the course for you. Get this course for a very special price and start your art journey now.